What is going on, Hoops fans? Today we are going to talk about the New York Knicks youth movement. This is now in the second full year of the Perry and Mills regime. Of course, Phil Jackson got to draft in the 2017 draft, in which he took Frank Ntilikina. And one thing I can say about this team, whether you like it or not, there is a clear direction and something that has not been a part of the Knicks organization in forever. This team always folded to the fan base's need for a winner. They always tried to take the shortcut to bring in that premier star, and more often than not, it never worked out. And the main reason for it was they would trade away draft picks. They would trade away the Antonio McDyess trade, for example. He played 18 games as a New York Knick over his 2-year career here, because of injuries, of course. The Knicks in that trade traded away Marcus Camby, Mark Jackson, and a first-round pick. That first-round pick was Nene Hilario. And Hilario turned out to be a very good player in this league. He had a great 15-year career in which he averaged around 15 points and 8 rebounds during the peak of it. Would have definitely helped out the Knicks going forward, a young player like that. And we got nothing for McDyess. Of course, some of that is bad luck with the injury. But, I mean, there's a lot of trades. You go down the list, Andrea Bargnani. Do I really need to go over that, where we gave away a first-round pick and took on that albatross of a contract because we thought we could take a shortcut and pair him up with Carmelo Anthony and contend? So many more. So many more horrible trades. Eddie Curry, Stephon Marbury, the Carmelo Anthony trade. And we're going to get into all of it right now. When you look at the Knicks between 2002 and 2017, a 16-year span, this team only had 12 first-round draft picks, and very few of them worked out. And the ones that did, most of them, they ended up trading away. I mean, if you look down at this list, in 2002, they drafted Michael Sweetney. Michael Sweetney turned out to be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, gained a lot of weight out of Georgetown, and didn't really work out in the NBA as a whole. I think the Knicks took him like 8th overall. The next year, they took Channing Frye. He only spent 2 years as a Knick. They later traded him off. David Lee worked out as a late first-round pick by Isaiah Thomas, but the Knicks let him walk later because they tried to take a shortcut by bringing in an established superstar in Amare Stoudemire, who had bum knees and gave us one great year, and then he kind of fell off the map. David Lee suffered some injuries later in his career as well, but I think most people would tell you that David Lee probably would have been the better option to stick with him rather than go for a banged-up Amare Stoudemire. Ronaldo Balkman never turned out to be anything. Marty Collins, same thing. Wilson Chandler and Danilo Gallinari were pretty good draft picks. They were pretty good players, but they spent very little time here because they were traded off to get Carmelo Anthony rather than waiting and trying to bring Carmelo in via free agency. And the Knicks took a shortcut there. Jordan Hill was traded in his rookie season. Amon Shumpert showed some promise. The Knicks later traded him off and never really developed that jump shot, but did have the makings of a great defender. Tim Hardaway Jr. we let walk. Then we brought him back and we signed him to a bad contract, and then we later traded him in the Kristaps Porzingis trade. Kristaps Porzingis, as I just mentioned, we traded him, and of course he suffered a bad injury. And Frank Ntilikina to this point has been a bust. Hopefully he improves. He's still very young. But when you look at that list, none of these guys really contributed to this basketball team after the age of, 25, 26? Maybe 27? I don't remember how old David Lee was, but most of these guys were not contributors. These are our first-round picks for a 16-year stretch. The Knicks now have 7 first-round picks over the next 4 years, and they've drafted early in the drafts over the last 2, and they've gotten a youth movement. There is a clear direction for this basketball team, and that is something that cannot be said for this team in forever, and it is encouraging. And this year they could have strayed from that. They could have definitely went out there and tried to get the big ticket free agents, and I would have been all for it had Kevin Durant not gotten hurt. But they decided to stick to the plan. They decided to stick to short-term contracts by bringing in guys, a young guy like a Julius Randle, bringing in established veterans on one-year contracts so that they could let them go and continue to build through the youth and have enough money to bring in a big free agent to put them over the top. But there is a clear direction here for the first time in forever. Last year, of course, we took Kevin Knox with the 9th overall selection. He showed a little bit of promise. He needs to take a big step forward this year, but remember, he's still a baby, and as Knicks fans, we have got to be patient. We got a steal of a pick in Mitchell Robinson with the 34th overall selection last year, and so far he has been marvelous throughout his NBA career. In limited time. He was second in the NBA in blocks last year, and in my opinion looks to be a future Defensive Player of the Year candidate. That's how good of a defensive presence he is as far as his shot blocking skills. This year, we had the number 3 overall selection, and I am very excited to see R.J. Barrett. I think he is going to be a cornerstone of this team when they get good. And by doing this, now you have very good players on cheap contracts, rookie deals, and if these guys mature and become better basketball players, this will attract the big-ticket free agents to come here. And I think the Knicks will try to strike in 2021. I expect them to have another pretty good draft pick next year, along with a Bresdakis, who I did not even mention, who showed a lot of promise in Summer League. But the Knicks have a clear direction, and if Knicks fans are patient over the next 2 or 3 years, this team will do damage in the NBA. They are building the team up the right way, much like the Golden State Warriors did when they brought in guys via the draft, the Steph Currys, the Klay Thompsons, the Draymond Greens, much like the Nets did before they acquired Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They built up a youthful basketball team. Whether or not they did it through the draft, they were a youthful basketball team. And I think Julius Randle could potentially be a part of that movement for the Knicks. He's still only 24 years old, and he has a lot of room for growth. He's coming off a career year in which he averaged 21 points and 9 assists. And Frank Ntilikina, well, who knows? Maybe he will mature. Maybe he will get better. I won't count him out yet. He's still only around 20, 21 years old. But the moral of the story is this team is young. There is a direction, and you couldn't say that about this team in 20 years. The Patrick Ewing trade was another albatross. I mean, the Knicks just have made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and they are finally being smart. They are not jumping the gun. They are letting this play out. And if these players develop into something, the Knicks are going to be a very good basketball team for years to come. And it is encouraging as a Knicks fan. I'm really looking forward to this year with the youth movement, year number 2. And I think it's going to probably be a 4 or 5 step year process. But by year 4 or 5, the Knicks will be a perennial contender for a while. I truly believe that. I think the guys they are going to bring in are going to be very talented and on cheap deals, and it will attract the big-ticket guys, much like it did for the Philadelphia 76ers. Look at their blueprint. They brought in a Ben Simmons and a Joel Embiid early in the draft. Once they matured, you were able to bring in guys. Whether, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, you were able to retain Tobias Harris this year, sign an Al Horford. The Knicks can copy that blueprint, build through the draft, find those cornerstone pieces. Hopefully that's Kevin Knox. Hopefully that's R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. Maybe they draft a guy early in next year's draft. And that is when the big guys, the 27, 28-year-old established vets, want to come play with these young guys and try to compete for a title for a 5-year period. But the Knicks have a direction, and I am so excited as a Knicks fan for the year 2 youth movement. I think there is a lot to be excited about. I think Knicks fans should be excited too. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.